Hey, what's up YouTube? Smoller here, and this is going to be my full thoughts and review, and there will be spoilers. I'm going to keep it to a minimum, but just as a forewarning, if you are watching this without having played the game and trying to avoid any kind of spoilers, even anything minor, probably wait, because I can't guarantee that there won't be at least some minor stuff, because there are certain things that do need to be talked about. Anyways, I'm doing this one without a webcam. I don't know. I'm finding it might be a little more effective for my YouTube videos, even though I do stream with a webcam. Anyways, as for all of my game reviews and my thoughts and everything, I break everything down into categories. Depending on the game, I'm going to have the categories be a little bit different, but as this is a big open world sandboxy RPG, the categories I am going to utilize are story, main missions and side missions, characters, the world and its environments, which in this game will be multiple worlds, but we'll just kind of culminate that into one thing. The gameplay, the systems of the game, and systems meaning things like how the skills work, user interface, inventory management. That'll also include all the outposts stuff, everything like that. Then we're going to talk about the sound design, the sounds, the music, and all of that. That'll be a category that I use, and then performance, and then I'll give it my overall score. Anyways, let's go ahead and start with what I would give the story, main story, and side story. First, to sum up, the main story, I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. I do think it is one of the better main stories of a Bethesda game of late. Not their best, but none of them have really been fantastic, with the exception, I think, of like Morrowind. So 7.5. However, as true with most Bethesda games, the side content is far superior when it comes to stories. So I'm going to give the side content a 9 out of 10. The faction quest lines, for the most part, are all really, really good. I would say even the worst one is still better than the main story. Maybe not by too much, but there's also some non-faction quest lines that are pretty long, and they are very good. There's, some fetchy quest type things here and there, but for the most part, I believe, from my perspective, the side content is very, very good. Now, let's talk about the characters. I think the characters is actually a weak point of this game. Even for a Bethesda game, I think the characters is probably one of the weakest elements. I'm going to be giving the characters a 7 out of 10, which, again, 7 out of 10, that's like a C. That's still a passing grade. We kind of live in a current time where, in the gaming rating verse, right, getting anywhere in the 70s is considered bad, when in actuality, right, that's still average, maybe slightly above average even. It's a passing grade. It's not terrible. It's just not great. None of the characters, in my opinion, are memorable. None of them are terrible either. In past Bethesda games, you've at least had one or two characters, at least that I felt were actually like really good, really compelling. In this game, not really anybody, in my opinion. They were all kind of, I don't want to say flat, but so-so. Some were a little better than others. And in case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just running around here in New Atlantis, so to avoid spoilers, this is the first major city that you come across within the first 10 minutes of the game, so. Anyways, yeah, characters is like a 7 for me. Now, the world and environments. This one's a little bit more tricky because this game has many, many worlds, many, many environments, which can be to its detriment or to its saving grace, really. And in my opinion, I think it actually works out very, very well. But maybe that's just because I'm a sci-fi exploration type person. Some of my favorite forms of media is Star Trek, Star Wars, Stargate, things like that. So for me, I feel like the environments and everything, the worlds in this game were absolutely phenomenal. Now, not everybody's going to agree. Some people are going to say, or, might point out that like a lot of these worlds are very barren and there's nothing to do in almost like 90+% of all of the worlds. that's actually true. But there are points of interest on pretty much most of these worlds. You have, like, okay, here, New Atlantis is on a planet called Jemison. It's not really a spoiler. It's honestly one of the only real things to really check out here. But this city is massive. Think of the biggest city in any of the Bethesda games and maybe like double it. That's about the size of Jemison. Jemison is the biggest city in Starfield. All the other major cities are, while they're big, they're not quite this big. I guess I'm kind of thinking of like Solitude from Skyrim being significantly larger than all the other cities, even though there are other cities. And then the worlds. There's every environment, every biome. There's snow. There's barren desert. There's jungle. There's everything you can think of, rocky hill terrain. There's even like swampy type stuff. Not super swampy, but there's a lot of great environments. And there are, like I said, there's points of interest on all the worlds. You can find in little settlements, little outposts, things to do. I was blown away. It's just my opinion. But as somebody who really loves this kind of stuff, I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. And that Bethesda pulled it off very, very well. Again, many people are going to disagree, but we can agree to disagree. The gameplay, the overall gameplay, the gameplay loop, just how the mechanics work. Obviously, this is, at the end of the day, it's an RPG, first-person shooter. I think the game is serviceable. Maybe a little bit better than serviceable. It's not fantastic. It's not, maybe not even great. But I would say it's good. The gunplay and everything is definitely a huge improvement from the Fallout games, from Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. It's definitely better. It's actually, in my opinion, quite fun. A lot of the guns are very fun to use. They work very well. They feel really well. But nothing's really, like, innovative, I guess. Everything feels kind of the same. I mean, you have a jetpack, and one, slight spoiler, you actually can't use a jetpack until you learn the skill. So, if you want to be able to use a jetpack, get that skill early. It's a skill you can get at level 1, so. It's a serviceable game in terms of gameplay. There's nothing really to talk about unless, well, I guess we should talk about the space gameplay. And this is probably a reason why I do only give it like an 8.5, maybe even like an 8. The space flight, this is a me problem, because I've tried to play many other space games with space flight and all of that. I think the mechanics that every game uses is terrible. I'm just a terrible gamer because I don't know what it is. To me, it feels terrible doing dogfights. It feels terrible just flying my ship around, which is why for me, I am glad that you actually don't fly your ship from planets to planets and free-form flying in space. You just fly around the system or the planet that you're orbiting, really. Because I think it's terrible, but at the same time, I guess I don't really know of another way that they can implement a better system to use. There's my terrible ship. You can build your own ships. It looks really, really, really dumb. But it works. And if you're asking also, like, can you just completely ignore the space gameplay flying around the ship? You can minimize it, but there are definitely main story quests, missions. You have to use your spaceship. So you can minimize it, but you can't eliminate it, so get good. Last major category that I want to talk about is just the overall systems of the game. This includes things like the skill system, the outpost building, level up system, buffs, debuffs, things like that. I like the direction they were going and the thought process behind the skill system. I don't think it's implemented the best way possible, but I do like what they were going for. I like that it's you pick a skill, rank 1, and then to get rank 2, you don't just put another skill in there. Well, you do, but before you can do that, you have to then complete the challenge now to be able to even put a point in the next skill, and that continues through up to rank 4. So let's just say with you want to get better with pistol weapons. Okay, the first rank you just put a point in. Now you want a rank 2. To be able to even put a point into rank 2, you have to, I want to say it's 20 kills with a pistol, maybe it's 30. And then once you complete the challenge, now you can put a point into it. Now the problem with this is that some of the skills don't correlate very well with that, with doing. Like when it comes to the weapons and kills and things like that, I think that works great. But when it comes to other things, it's maybe a little bit, I don't know. Like heals. If you want to have better heals, okay, you got to heal yourself while injured like 50 times. I'm like, okay, but what if I just don't get injured a lot? Do I just forcefully get myself injured? Because that's what it is. You can't, because the game doesn't let you heal if you're full health. And, so I like the system of doing is how you increase your skill. That's more a la Oblivion, Morrowind, and the older realm of RPGs, whereas modern RPGs generally don't do it that way. The outpost system. A lot of people are going to be like, oh boy, here we go, settlements. A settlement needs your assistance or whatever from Fallout 4. It is significantly better. The outpost system, I think, is a huge improvement. In my opinion, the only thing they really could have done better would have been to just allow higher customization of the way my outpost looked. That's really about it. Otherwise, I thought it was fantastic. It's a great system to be able to farm resources, which resources are used to craft better mods for your weapons and armor, or then, building more things in your outpost, the majority of which is for either storage or just cosmetic, things like that. But it's really, really cool. The main thing, again, like I said, is like the actual buildings. I wish you can there was more of a customization with it, but hey, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I'm a huge fan of like building games and things like that. So I thought it was really, really fun. I spent probably a good 20 to 30 hours of my 150 hours in this game doing just that. What else do we got when it comes to systems? Oh, the buffs and debuffs, pretty standard across the board. If you played a Bethesda game before, it's pretty much the same thing. Nothing too major here. So now let's talk about some of the smaller things, but do matter. The sound design, music, everything. I think they did such an incredible job with the music and the sounds to be able to make you feel like this is that sci-fi space exploration experience that people are looking for. Many, many times when I was playing this game, I was getting, I'm getting like Star Trek vibes. I'm getting like that Stargate SG-1 vibe. Ooh, it just makes me feel I'm going on a space adventure. So they did such a good job with the music, the sounds. I think the sounds are serviceable. I don't know. When it comes to like gunshots and like the sound effects and the stuff, I don't know. I guess one way to look at it is if I didn't hear or notice anything that was like bad, that's good, right? Like, I didn't like that. I had no experience like that, so that must be a good thing, right? So I give sound a 9, and I forgot the systems I give actually a 7. Why did I give systems a 7? Probably because, like I said, there's a little bit with the perk system that could have they're on the right track, but they kind of missed the mark. Yeah. Now let's talk about the big one. Big one. It's a small thing, but it's a huge thing because this has nothing to do with I feel like the game so much as the coding, and that of course is performance. The performance for this game, I'm just going to be honest, it's absolutely terrible. And I know that's kind of true for any Bethesda game. I'm going to go ahead and put bugs in here, talk about any kind of bugs as well. Some people can say the bugs in Bethesda games adds to its charm. oh, you expect bugs and glitches, and you just kind of laugh about it, and you're like, oh, that's what makes it feel so heartwarming. It makes me feel like, the Bethesda experience. Yes and no. Yes, because I actually agree with that. But no, they should still, at the end of the day, not exist. But more so than the bugs and the glitches, the actual just raw performance for this game, I think, is its biggest culprit. I don't have a Mega Beast computer, but I still have a computer I can run Cyberpunk on near max settings and get above 60 FPS. This game, without special performance mods that I had to go out of my way to download, I was getting sub 40 on medium settings. I'm like, oh, that's not good. Especially with, I'm just I don't understand. I was fortunately able to install some performance mods that people on Nexus Mods were able to quickly figure out how to improve. And so for the most part, I'm getting over 60 FPS on max settings, thankfully. But again, this is something that, Bethesda should have fixed on their own. And again, bugs. I've had multiple instances where I was talking to Quest NPCs and the NPCs were floating away, or they were sinking into the ground, or they were sliding across the floor, going through walls. I was doing a mission with a companion, and the companion got stuck inside an NPC ship, and the ship flew away. But I needed the NPC to continue the quest, but the NPC was no longer there because the NPC flew away in the ship. I'm like, what? So that was strange to say the least. But yeah. I'm gonna give performance, honestly, a 6.5. It really needs a lot of work. All in all, though, as somebody who is a huge Bethesda fanboy, I still loved my time in this game. Absolutely loved it. Like I said, I put about 150 hours in my playthrough. And I ended right when I reached, spoiler alert, spoiler. When you finish the main story of this game basically New Game Pluses. So when you finish the game, you restart back to the very beginning of the game. You lose all your items, you lose all your outposts, you lose all your ships, but you keep your levels, you keep your perks, along with something else that you gain multiple of. And then you just play through the game again. There is some new dialogue. There is some new stuff. And there are things that you cannot completely finish in a single playthrough because some of the things are seeded in a way where it's RNG. Which is why a lot of people have been playing the game multiple times. New game plus 10, etc. For some people, that's going to be a huge draw to the game. For other people like myself, at the end of the day, the overall stories aren't really changing, so I'm not going to probably do it until the first expansion, and then I'll just continue on in my New Game Plus to do the expansion. Anyways, guys, I'm going to give this game an overall a 7.5 to an 8, which honestly is pretty close to what a lot of the review scores are giving it. That being said, don't take that as a negative. I still think this game is absolutely fantastic, especially if you love Bethesda games. It just unfortunately was released right after Baldur's Gate 3. The Cyberpunk DLC just came out right after it. This 2023 is an insanely stacked year for video games. I think Starfield is going to be even nominated for Game of the Year? Yeah, it'll probably be nominated for Game of the Year. It's no way going to win, and it shouldn't. But still a really, really fun game. If you love these games, these type of games, you'll still have a fantastic time in Starfield. But if you can wait a little bit for at least some better mods to come out for performance at the very least, I would wait a little bit. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I know this is a longer video. Not a lot to really look at. I'm actually looking into... Oh, boy.
I need to talk to you. You're the one. You flew in on...
Yep. Alright, get out of here. So that's actually one of the cool things. So you can just run into random quests. Anyways, guys, I'll see you guys later. And hit a like, subscribe, leave comments how I can improve. I know I need to do some video editing, which I am researching programs right now. Alright, guys. Peace.